to watch their development for sure, although sad at times, definitely.
Oh, yeah.
As they have fallen down to 10th place, and they can't get up out of 10th place either. So they're stuck there. It is the second to last week of the season. So again, like we were talking about in the last couple of series for DRX and the teams that aren't making playoffs, these players are just trying to put on their best show individually as well. You know, they're trying to raise their value for potentially for next year. So you know, we'll see how that goes as we are going to hop into pick ban here for game number 1. DRX did choose blue side. Let's see what we got. Again, this is going to be the second day of patch 11.15 as well.
Expecting a number of bans towards Dove, already the Lucian taken out. Zed also taken away really early, and it's a pick that KT still highly prioritizes. We've seen the win rate of Zed just generally take a huge nosedive ever, and people, or teams rather, have still been really happy to pick him up. I think a remnant from the patches where he was super broken with Stride Breaker still the dash, but ever since they've been taken away, Zed has just felt okay. But teams still, or some teams, KT for example, still putting a high priority on it. So in that light, the ban does make sense. Ziggs still open, and that is one of the picks that I think KT has looked pretty decent with, because it means they need to pay no attention to their bot side.
Yeah, definitely a fan of the Ziggs. We'll see if it does get through here though, as the Viego was banned here. And of course Renekton, as some champions receive some nerfs and others some buffs on this patch. Renekton has been a nice ban here on the red side. Lee Sin also going to be taken away. Definitely a champion that especially Jet does love to play. So they're going to take that one off the board.
Ooh. I don't. Oh, And
Okay.
this is bound to be a jungle Gwen for Pioshik. He's the one who has been the most adamant about playing this champion, and that is a risky proposition to me, because Gwen is a champion that, after having received several rounds of nerfs, especially in the jungle, takes some time to get going. You definitely need your first item once you really want to start having an impact, and yes, you can solo carry team fights later on. But that in of itself, I think, is still a risk. As a blind pick Jace here, you know how I feel about blind pick Jace, Valdez. Not particularly positive.
You and I think, were casting maybe 2 weeks ago on a Friday, and we saw this, and then immediately Hoya just slammed in the Wukong. We'll see if DRX, you know, if Kingen wants to respond to that in a big way, because it is a champion that, while in general is very good in the lane and can bully a lot of matchups, he does have some counters, so blind picking it can be unadvisable sometimes, as Trundle was also picked, as he has risen in priority here.
Yeah, incredibly strong pick. And the Aphelios lock-in hints to me that they might want to look for a fresh, and that does mean that hopefully KT is going to throw a Wukong Bang their way. And normally I'm also a big fan of the Malphite counter pick. However, picking Malphite into Trundle feels real bad. Don't want to do that at all. So in that regard, KT still providing himself with a lot of power. It can pick up a strong mid laner if they want to here for Dove, and then ban away a counter for that as well. Or you can look into securing maybe something like a Varus, one of the stronger AD carries that is still available. And you can also kind of leave alone, but it will be the Ziggs pickup here. So it does make it pretty far through the draft, and I think that is a really nice into the Aphelios.
Yeah, and guess what? It's Ziggs Trundle again. Definitely could be something that could go together here. Down on the bottom side, we have seen it done before. But just something to keep in mind. That's part of the reason,
Yeah.
I suppose, for Trundle. And, you know, Wukong, a very obvious ban here. I don't think they're going to be banning the Malphite, but definitely get rid of this guy.
Yeah, even if the Malphite was left open, which it definitely will, because LCK teams just don't like him. I don't know why.
Yeah.
In this case, I do know why, because picking him into as mentioned previously, with the amount of armor that you generate, just makes Gideon, presumably Trundle, only happier. And Trundle in general has just been rising in priority. He is a champion that simultaneously provides a lot of early game dueling potential, press the attack chomp and his frozen domain. And then also still provides late game utility, gets really tanky, takes away some AD from their opponents, as the Aurelia ban also coming through. And to me, that signals that KT is looking for a counter pick for Dove, which is an approach I really like. I think that, as mentioned previously, it's Dove and Doran. Doran got a Jace, and you took away some of the stronger, or rather in this case, the both the Renekton and the Wukong away that make the pick a lot weaker. And then now you pick a support, you pick up maybe the Braum, which doesn't feel great, but the Leona and the Nautilus have both been banned away. Ooh,
or this.
Yeah.
Tahm Kench is back in the meta. He is very often picked nowadays in the LCK even. Welcome back. Unbenched again.
Yeah, but why don't we ever see him top though?
No,
that's a part.
This is the LCK.
That
Don't
really,
do that here.
that really upsets me because he's really good in top lane, and I think it makes some sense, but not that much. You know, it's like it's okay, but it's not great. Like the Syndra pickup here, Syndra 11-15 has risen greatly in priority due to the buffs that she's received. Also, Syndra Fresh is a combination that goes way back, and of course here, we're seeing some hovers. This is a namesake chip, but it is really good into the Trundle. Kindred is amazing, and it's also great into the Ziggs. So actually, I love this pick, and that's a really nice pivot. Rough laning phase for King, though.
Yeah, we'll see how he's able to handle it. By the way, I did want to mention there is a small chance that everything gets flexed. Throw the Tahm Kench top, the Jace mid, you throw the Trundle down on the bottom side.
Oh, I actually would love that.
I don't think it's going to happen in a million years, but, there's still a chance. But no, LeBlanc is going to be picked, and yeah, she's good nowadays. You see a lot of LeBlanc.
I'm glad you pointed out, though, Feldas.
I just had to get it in there.
Yeah, before it all got shattered, unsurprisingly. And I gotta say, I love this composition from DRX. I think that outside of the top side, which should be a relatively hot matchup for King, and until he gets some items, once you pick up some armor boots and are able to get some damage yourself, you're a lot more threatening. But bot lane, yeah, you get outranged, but it's hard to make a play onto you. I really like the Syndra, and I feel like picking the LeBlanc into Syndra is also a risk. I feel like that is still very much a skill matchup, and the Kindred really ties it together, and it's one of the champions that historically Pyosik has looked by far the best on. Of course, his namesake champion, so I'm liking it.
Yeah, it's definitely a pretty cool draft, what they have gathered here. We saw the high focus on the Aphelios Thresh bottom lane. One other stat that we actually had is that Taehyun and June used to play up against 5kid in Challengers all the time, and they actually have a very dominant winning record against that player. So maybe you go ahead and say, okay, guys, win bot lane. Maybe we can win through there because top lane is going to be tough. I do like the insane amount of poke that we do have on the side here of KT. We'll see if they can get it online. The Trundle Pillar and the Devour from Tahm Kench eventually can be pretty nice for some disengage as well. So KT from ahead, I feel like they can do some wonderful things as well. As we are going to hop onto the Rift here for game number 1.
Would love to see some attention paid to Doran here, because the one, I think, really big risk that you want with the KT composition, if his Doran somehow gets shut down, if Pyosik is able to pay some attention to that top side of the map, you don't have any AD damage. And then itemization becomes really easy. On the flip side, if Gideon is able to visit Doran early, punish King, and who did go for the flash, which I really like in this matchup, because if Doran does get ahead, you're faced against a Ziggs, who is a great champion in general, a LeBlanc that's looking to blow you up, and then also a fat Jace that you can't really afford to itemize against. And then if you itemize, you have Trundle. So all of that is just just doesn't make you very happy. Some interesting choices. Taehyun has gone for the lethal tempo here, as opposed to the Conqueror that we generally see. Also Pyosik, one of the big fans of the Conqueror Kindred, as opposed to a press the attack. That is very common for less early game power, but once those mid to late game fights break out, is just a full-fledged AD carry. Last time we saw him went for a Divine Sunderer build, which I don't assume he still will after the nerf that we've seen come through, but gonna keep a look out for that one, as early electrocute procs here found by Dove, who is looking to try and do as much damage as he can. And I wonder, Taehyun and June up against 5kid here. It's a Challengers reunion, as you pointed out.
Yeah, definitely curious about how this is going to go. Taehyun, right from the get-go, is right in their face. trying to put on the pressure. We only had one Storm Gatherer. Just wanted to point that out. We had a couple of Scorchers. 5kid being one of them. But
He was a Scorcher?
Yeah, he was a Scorcher on Ziggs. But, you know, really trying to eke out that tiny little advantage that you can get in the lane, even though it's going to be pretty difficult there. As level 2 here is hit, and Flash comes in. We're going for the Kent, and he will immediately respond with his own Flash. Ignite also used by June, as they really did try to put on the pressure here at level 2.
There's 2 flashes for 1. He'll take it every time. Really nicely done by June, and taking control of this lane early and getting a Ziggs stuck under his turret is a really great way to kind of mitigate both the strength of the champion, who is looking to always push, try and utilize his passive, as well as get close to his satchel charge on the bot side turret. And another benefit of the Ziggs is that you can leave him alone. And when he's getting shoved under turret, getting harassed aggressively, then that might influence Gideon's pathing later on, which is a big win for you as DRX. So forcing some early summoners is quite nice in that regard.
Yeah, good that they are able to get that out here pretty early. June, once again, you see he's just hopping forward. Really, again, trying to put on that pressure. So this first mark is down here on the bottom side, and there is priority from the bottom lane. So KT say, well, we're just going to have to give that one up, as Gideon will meekly go up to the top side of the river. So that's a good start as well for Pyoshik, as he will pick up his first mark here.
Early marks always feeling a bit bad if you don't have Smite. No way to really get through that shield easily otherwise. And really nice satchel there from 5kid, kind of denying a lot of the trading power, because June found another hook. And that leads to an early back. And there is no flash, no mana on 5kid.
Yeah, and he's got teleport, but he elects to stay anyway as the root comes in. This is going to be the easiest first blood you've ever seen, as a nice try at a trade back, but heal is used and Taeyun will survive, even with the minions coming in here. So the Tom Kents goes back, 5kid stays, and 5kid dies.
And that is really rough. Not really suspecting. You knew Pyoshik was there, right? You know that the wave was getting shoved in. That shouldn't have been a surprise. He was spotted out. He was literally bullying Gideon away. Wonder whether, because Pyoshik, of course, put the markdown on 5kid. I think it actually went through, which means that we have a Pyoshik that's 4.5 minutes in the game and already up to 2 marks.
No way. Wait, we got to see. And see if he, well, actually.
That's really good. If you know, we haven't seen Kindred in a while, but 4 mark is basically the magic break point for Kindred, where she gains a really big increase in her range, and then every subsequent 3 marks, you're still happy. But every Kindred player has had the experience of falling behind, never hitting 4 marks, and just feeling increasingly worse, as you are an incredibly short range carry and just don't really do that much.
It's one of your big ways to scale up into the later stages of the game and be a very annoying kind of utility AD carry as the game does come along, that can actually output an insane amount of damage if you do get fed, but it doesn't always happen. Gideon and Harp here on the roam. They're going to spot Pyoshik, who just tells him to get out of the jungle. This is a matchup we were kind of expecting Doran to do very well in, and we can see that although a little shot of the bullying going on, Kingen is actually keeping up very nicely in CS.
And that's all he really needs to do. I think he can have a great first back, pick up some plated steel caps, and then feel a lot more comfortable going into that. And of course, with the power of needlework, there is still some threat later on, as Pyoshik just saying hello to Gideon, gets a chomp, and then pieces out again.
Yeah, Kingen, you can see he's just pushing waves. The immense amount of priority down on the bottom side means that, okay, let's just do Drake is in order here. 6 minutes into the game, they're just going to take it down. And there is nothing that KT can do to respond to this. No Rift Herald, no other objective on the map. And so just a nice free early Drake here to DRX.
DRX looking good here in his first game. We've already talked about the struggles that KT have often faced when they're unable to find themselves leads in the early game. And thus far in the early game, everything has been going DRX's way. It's a second scuttle that is now going to get picked up here for Pyoshik. 3 marks! Fellas,
this is not okay. And now we're just going to get double roots down. Harp doesn't have his flash, and he's going to try to get out of there, but he cannot. Absolutely. 2 kills here to Taeyun. 3 marks for Pioshik. DRX are on a massive roll here in the early game.
And this is so incredibly tough for KT to deal with, because as pointed out earlier, if the Ziggs does fall behind, he's gonna need help, right? Like, generally, one of the power of Ziggs is that you're able to just keep shoving in waves and you're able to wave clear indefinitely. But if you get put on the back foot very early, especially against a champion like Aphilos that has a considerable amount of wave clear with the right weapons, as well as a fresh there to secure kills, you've already been dove once. You might get dove a couple of more times, and that's not something that I think you can really afford to SKT. Already 1k behind this early on, Drake taken as well. And we already talked, DRX's mid to late game look incredible. So going in on even footing against a composition that has great poke but lacks hard engage is, I think, a great way to get yourself into a comfortable position.
Yeah, KT's comp from behind can definitely not enjoy itself very much. As look at this. Look at this little swap we got going on here. We have teleport available on Jett. The Rift Herald is coming up right now. And they say, well, if Ziggs wants to be left alone in the bottom side, we'll just put a Syndra who's up on levels on him down there to push that one in and make it very annoying. They get priority here on the Rift Herald. And once again, a nice little map maneuver here from DRX.
This is just beautifully played, because Jett also has TP. Like, even if they do contest, even if they do decide to go for something here, 5k doesn't have the teleport. He had to use it after the dive that we saw earlier. So DRX, in this early game, is just running circles around KT. They picked up the Drake, they picked up the second Herald, can presumably plot that down wherever they'd like to funnel gold into, and I'd be fine if it was Taeyeon. Couldn't give it to Kingen or Jett as well if they maybe set up for a nice dive opportunity. And what you're going to do, early on, it's the decisiveness that we haven't seen all split. It's the final bullets as well on the Graviton, right? Immediately switches to his Severum. Free pickup.
It's this is crazy. Where was this DRX all season long? That's always the story, you know, when the bottom level teams happen. By the way, guys, after that kill, after the gank when Pioshik went bot, he picked up another stack. He picked up another mark, so now he has 4.
Yeah, so it's done. That's what you're saying, Veldis.
I mean, I don't know how you... This is... Like, if you look at the gold number, it doesn't look like all that much. It's like, oh, you know, it's still a large number early on in the game, but, like, this is really huge. I mean, this Kindred is gigantic. The Aphelios is gigantic. They got every objective. And they just look so clean. So I don't think this train is going to stop here anytime soon.
And I think as KT, you still have a window. But you need to utilize it now, because the further you fall behind, the less this composition is going to do. Because if you are not able to have even a semblance of control of the map with a composition like this, you won't be able to get off any poke. Because you're going to have to face check into the fog, and then if a single scatter, a single hook hits, you're just dead. You're immediately going to get blown up. And that's if Taeyeon isn't even nearby to just auto you, and then uses his Graviton bullets to take you down. As loving this, but Gideon is in the area.
Yeah, you can see 5kid, he's desperate to try to clear the waves, and now we got a Tom Kent who's under turret, takes a lot of damage as there you go, the Moonlight Vigil comes in, Pioshik is able to hop away. That's just going to be another kill into the pockets of the Aphelios. And another plate on top of it. Let's drop down the Rift Herald. DRX, like I mentioned, the train will not stop. It's the express train. We're looking to get to the final stop.
And yeah, you can threaten a little bit there as Dove, but you invested your teleport, and because the Kindred ultimate is still there is never a situation where you are actually able to blow someone up. Kingen
comes out. Kingen's looking for the solo kill, and he's got one more. I think there it is. The needles come out, and one more auto will do it. As he's trying to get in there, and he will pick up the kill. Although he does go down to the turret. Nicely done, trying to turn things around in the top lane.
That's the true top laner spirit. You kill me, I kill you. We both get the solo kill. And yeah, as Kingen, don't think you can back off there. He recognizes as well that with those summoners used, you're just going to get taken down. But I'm just loving this decisiveness from DRX, right? Harp thinks 6 there at the very end, but it's not enough because he's the one getting killed. No one for him to devour. And can't believe Kingen went for this.
Yeah.
That's the one. Yeah, he just flashes back in. It's actually incredible. Then hits enough needles, and those ones are really important because if he doesn't hit that slow, he's definitely going to die. And then here also recognizes that if he tries to turn away there, he's just going to get shock blasted and die.
Yeah.
So instead says, yeah, I'm all in. We can have some fun.
He elected to the all-in, and you know, it's part of the name. You're going all in. There's no backing off of that. So this bottom lane from DRX has been a really nice sight for sore eyes. On here on the side of DRX, they have been dominating this bottom lane of KT, and it has not been close. It helps out that Pyosik gave a lot of attention down to the bottom side, and Gideon, you know, hasn't really been able to match it so far. We'll have to wait and see just how far they can take this one, as they are up about 2,000 gold. Already taking that bottom tier 1. It's going to be a great start.
And now for KT, game is not over just yet. As mentioned previously, they do still have incredible poke. Their 2-item spike, particularly on Doran, is still incredibly strong. However, with Dove not really finding any opening, Kingen now.
Okay.
The Dove here.
Trying to get on top of Kingen here. He's got the needles coming out, trying to turn it, and he will not be able to. The subjugate helping Gideon stay alive, making that kill easier. But you can see that Pyosik, he's trying to turn it up on the top side. He already has 4 marks. How many more is this guy gonna get? As he's got 5 kid, you can see that Marcus hanging out there. He just needs to get the assist onto this poor Ziggs, who's all alone underneath the turret. And there's gonna be the double kill going the way of Pyosik. As they get on in here, they group up against Doran and deny any further kills.
And that's a trade you'll take anytime. Lamp supply still available in case Doran would try and go for something greedy. Yeah, Gideon gets the Drake, but it's only a first Drake. We will be having an Infernal Soul here, which either team would love, but with the state of the map as is, should be DRX who is going to have a lot easier time picking up those objectives. And I'm going to echo what you said earlier, Valdez. This is not a DRX we've really seen the entire split. They look so much more decisive, and it really does feel like they were playing with a huge weight on their shoulders. That weight is gone. Doesn't really matter what you do anymore. And as it turns out, with a lack of pressure, they're able to stand up here and say, as Kingen, I don't think that's going to end well.
Yeah, you know, I liked the play before. This one, not so much. He just doesn't have any vision. There was almost a lucky blast plant there that maybe would have forced a flash from Gideon, but does not matter, as he's just going to face check the Dark Jungle and get taken out.
I don't know why we're watching this again. It was nicely done. Good pillar. Holds him down, and then this topside play as well. Here you see the really confidence as well as Pyosik making use of the fact that he is so fat as Kindred. Gets the first proc, which means Harp is just desperately trying to stay alive. Really nice turret tank in here from June rather. And then, yeah, they can go in here. 5-kid doesn't really have any mana or threat to speak of. Lamp's Respite still available. And then they use the heal there, not the Kindred ultimate, to make sure that Aphelios stays alive. Yeah, King, your team is making a play on the top side of the map. You have no business being here, and he gets punished appropriately.
He was pretty far down the lane with 0 vision,
yes.
So yeah, that's not what to do. Dove now, he's on the run. Got to cover that. Yeah, they cover it, so no more distortioning back here. Trying to find LeBlanc. Ooh, nice little maneuver. He's able to actually get out of here pretty easily. It can be rough to lock down LeBlancs from time to time, so he does survive.
I like the call from DRX there as well, because the people that would actually hunt for the LeBlanc, because June wasn't really close by, would be a Gwen and a Kindred, and they have slows. And it's a LeBlanc with Flash. So
yeah,
that's it's just never. It looks kind of funny, but that's just never happening. So I don't mind. I'm nice from Dove as well to recognize that, yeah, you're here. See if I care. And in this case, he doesn't. And it's still a 2K lead, but it's not ballooning, which means that KT is still very much in this game. And it's important to recognize that while the pick potential from DRX's comp is incredible, they're also not that tanky. If someone like Jet or Kingen gets picked off in a side lane, Pyosik isn't anywhere near to try and save them with a Lamp's Respite, and you are able to get a man advantage, you can then use the incredible amount of seeds that you have to leverage that into a little bit more. And that's something that I think if you're DRX, you really need to be mindful of. Case in point.
Well, there's going to be the second DRX player that's going to get caught out, but guess what? We got Kindred on our team. So the Lamp's Respite comes out. It's not a short cooldown by any means, but it will keep Jet alive. And it will open up the second Rift Herald here for DRX.
And there's a saving grace. If you do have Pyosik anywhere near, then he can save you. And we saw the Ziggs bomb there, 5 kills, like maybe I can get him. But the Lantern from June enough to keep the Syndra alive there. But I'm happy to see that immediately we start taking control of the map. Because as DRX, this is where you recognize, okay guys, we're in the lead, but we can't just randomly get caught in side lanes. Like, we got away with it there. Jet was able to survive, but we had to use Flash. We had to invest a couple of ultimates. Need to be more careful. So the way you do that, you take down the mid lane turret with the Herald you just picked up. You don't greed for red. That's not part of the plan. No, there we go.
We hop forward towards the red, and we don't get it. It seems like that was the plan at the end of the day. It's okay. Just exerting their pressure from very far ahead, trying to get some deep vision, even though there's no Baron. It's okay. As you can see here, Doran and Dove are actually the highest levels in the game. As, you know, quietly. I thought that Jet did a pretty good job just farming out the lane, not dying to Dove, and then eventually, you know, we saw the little swap-a-rooney for the Rift Heralds, and since then we've essentially exited the laning phase. But that's been good. The only real place where the lanes are hurting is in the top side, where Doran has gotten a pretty significant lead over Kingen in the CS.
It is Doran, after all, and whereas Dove hasn't really had an impact this game yet, and I think will also continue to have a hard time due to that Lance Respite. Now on the second level, Pyosik also itemizing Wit's End.
Okay, looking to get on top of Pyosik here. He does not have his ultimate. He had to use it to get the Syndra to safety, and so he's just going to die to a pillar and a couple of members of KT. And this is with the Infernal Drake up, so we're beginning to see some of the issues that DRX do run into a little bit later on in the game.
Yeah, a slow response by DRX as well. Seemed to me like Taeyun and June might have been able to at least rotate, maybe throw the Lantern a little bit earlier. Could have been fine there, but that's a really big pickup, and it shows us that KT still can't take you down, right? Dove doesn't even need to do all the damage. All that he needed to do there, which he did. Oh.
Okay, Kingen trying to survive with his needles, but Dove just says, I'm LeBlanc. I can go straight in your miss. That's totally fine. And there have been a lot of little mistakes from the side of DRX. They had a massive lead, and all of a sudden, I mean, you look at the gold, you look at the Infernal Drake, there's a lot of different ways that KT can easily win this game now. And so trying to get on top of Jet here. He doesn't have his flash. That's going to be a dead Syndra unless he gets, nope, no E available, and down he goes. Killing spree for Gideon, who is, okay, just gets devoured here and will survive.
That's not all devoured. This is an ultimate that has to be invested. I feel like they could have also just walked through the jungle. I don't think you needed to run in. That you had good vision. But here we see the value, and Dove does this really nicely, is with the itemization from Pyosik, you don't actually take him down that quickly, but combined with Gideon's substantial damage, you're still fine. And here, it felt like, honestly, if you react to a little bit earlier there was June, maybe you're fine.
Yeah.
Gwen being immune, as you pointed out, doesn't matter, as Dove is not impressed at all.
Just like, I'm fighting, I got him. Here's the follow-up here on the Jet, who again had no flash.
Yeah, Gideon really overestimating his tankiness there. They had vision in the bot side jungle. Yeah. You could just run away. Didn't have to use the Devour there. It's still an okay position, but DRX now giving away a part of their lead. And I'm not necessarily as worried as to what it means for the state of the game as I'm worried for just DRX's mental. This is a team that has had an incredibly rough split as, oh no.
Okay, we're going to get the Lantern in here, and it does actually get Harp into an unfortunate spot as huge damage from range as the turret is online. 4-0 and 2 right now with a couple of items already is Taeyun.
And we haven't actually seen a straight-up team fight yet. Everything has just been people getting caught, getting blown up, and then the other team is like, actually, never mind, we'll just leave it. As that was a nice attempt at stealing away the mark. Doesn't actually work out for Pyosik, unfortunately for him. It's Gideon having a great game on the Trundle here. I wasn't necessarily the hugest fan of Blank being subbed out, but thus far Gideon definitely been able to make a nice impact on the map. Picked up a couple of key chomps left and right, and While DRX is still in the lead with the Drakes as they are, I feel like this is still very much an even game, and it's starting to feel like which teams make less mistakes is the team that's going to be fine, because here it's just Harp walking into a hook, and then the rest of his team is basically just standing there, and they're like,
yeah. Gideon has no pillar. He's like, well, no. I can't help you. I'll just get flayed and probably die myself, so good luck.
And it makes sense in a match between what have been our bottom two teams, right? That we see these amount of mistakes. Of course, KT have been able to climb themselves up a little bit, but it's still not that great. It's Taeyun.
Yeah, this is what you can do. Ziggs trying to leave in if they don't lane together. It's really annoying to deal with as the combo gets the flash out of Taeyun. And that is going to be pretty nice. Take a look at Pyoshik. Always look on the minimap for where these marks are because he's roaming around. They don't have vision on this one, so not going to be able to make a move on that. But still, Wits End complete. And Pyoshik, you know, he hit that spike. He's got 5 stacks, so he's definitely still a menace in this game as long as he doesn't get caught.
And has hit his 2-item power spike. Doran also a while ago already hit the Serpent's Fang, now approaching a Manamune as well. So he's going to be incredibly strong when it comes to these objective fights. And I don't know if DRX are actually have the execution to pick people off. Because one thing, we talked about the lack of engage for KT. That's fine. They can just fire Shock Blast, they can throw Ziggs bombs, they can throw Ziggs ultimates and be completely okay. Take it a little bit slower. But for DRX, you're playing in a Philos into composition with a lot of range and a LeBlanc that isn't really going to open up a lot of opportunities for you. So you need to hit either a hook or a scatter. If you don't get those, it's a really hard sell, and KT looks to know that as well. That would have been a big hook.
Yeah, probably would have been his death. But here comes the poke. They see that June now is at half health. Dove is just looking for a little bit more, lands a Q, and some of that poke is getting really annoying for DRX, but still they have been able to zone KT away for long enough as KT say, sure, take the Infernal, we'll take your turret. As, okay, we're just going to be dancing in this game. Gideon very happy with the trade, as of course it will be 2 turrets, especially with the Ziggs, making sure of that.
Yeah, I really like the decisiveness here from KT, because what they decide to do here is, it's not a soul point, in which case I would have liked the trade for DRX more, but it's a second Drake. Don't really care about that. We're incredibly strong right now. Why would we walk into the river and risk giving something up when we can, with a poke comp, with as much power as theirs, just take away 2 turrets. You lose a huge amount of map control. We get a lot more play range to make plays, and now as DRX, you're going to try and desperately cling to any type of vision that you can still get, but we saw the issue there. Right? Like, their engage is not that great. Unless June goes for a big flash hook play, it's hard to actually get on top of KT. And if KT doesn't just randomly engage into you or gets caught, which, let's be fair, both of which have happened.
In this game, I'm like, yeah, I don't know. Seems the probability's kind of high.
Well, it's probably going to happen, but it shouldn't, right? Yeah, and KT seemed to realize that as well. And I think if they play that out well, DRX still have a rough game ahead of them, and that's why it was so nice that the early game was looking so good. But then, a couple of picks on Kingin, a random Pyoshik that gets found in his own jungle, approaching a dragon, because otherwise they might have been at soul point now. All kind of tying into that, these hooks are exactly what you need.
Yeah, I'm glad that you point out just how important vision is in this game, especially because the amount of engage, quote-unquote, from DRX that they have is basically just long-range pick. And if it doesn't land, it's like, well, I guess we're just kind of running away, unless Gwen wants to run at them, which, generally not advised unless she's very fed, and so far has not been the case. And KT, as a poke comp, of course, you want as much vision and map control as possible so that you can kind of keep them at range and just poke them out of the map. The one thing is that Taeyun has 3 items already, and even the 1 Infernal Drake is like, ooh, I don't know, like, who has the poke comp actually? Is it Taeyun or is it the 5 members of KT? Like, who's got more poke? I don't know.
And that's also what we saw the successful plays for KT come down to. It was this. It was Taeyun just... It's like, you can't walk into... This is not it's not as tanky as a real turret, but it deals as much damage, so you better respect it. And this does really feel like a game where, if played perfectly, I think KT have a huge edge, because they can really easily stop DRX from taking any objective with the poke that they have. If you start up a Baron, yes, your damage is incredible with a Kindred as well as an Aphelios, especially with the right weapons. But then you take one 5-kit ultimate, and Doran fires a Shock Blast, and you need to get out, because otherwise Dove just blows you up. And the Lamp's Respite helps a little, but it's still not an easy sell for DRX. Fortunately for them, KT have also shown they are not perfect. People get caught in side lanes, people walk up too far, and if you can find a single pick, then all of a sudden your turret potential is a lot more threatening. But in practice, with the decisive lack of engage, I am afraid, Valdez, that this is going to be one of those games where there's not going to be that much action as we hop from objective to objective. And if either team had Leona or a Rakan or something aggressive, otherwise
or
it's just going to be this.
To jump into the enemy jungle and try to kill the Trundle and then just die.
What?
Yeah, he's the jungler as well. KT seems like they're not confident to just run at the Baron just yet, but they'll happily take a free Kindred, that's for sure.
Case in point, when you don't have engage, people start doing silly things, and in this scenario, it's extremely silly. Yeah, you have Lamp's Respite that is not supposed to give you a false sense of security. Ooh, I wonder whether Kingdom wins this now. I don't know.
He's waiting for cooldowns. There it is, to the skies. And here we go. The ult is out. The needles are on point, but it is Jace, and he is pretty fast. So just a little bit of damage done to Doran, and he's totally fine.
That was Doran with all his cooldowns used, and he still, I don't think King would have won that all in.
Phase rush
Doran.
and Jace.
Ooh, it's understandable as well, because Doran is incredibly fed. Able to pick up a lot more global gold, is already on 3.5 items, whereas Kingen is on 2.5, and they're not particularly great. It's just defensive. Oh. That's a nice catch.
Yep, this is the long-range pick we're talking about. If it lands, and you have the follow-up from Taeyun, you can do some serious life-threatening damage. So that time the Scout of the Week is enough to push Dove back, but he does have teleport, so we'll go for a redo. As here's this poke you were talking about. Zig's ultimate right on top of Taeyun, doesn't even get through the shield, but the steal from Doran on the Infernal Drake is big. But here comes DRX, they have so much damage already with the Kindred and the Aphelios just moving forward, able to take a couple of guys down, and now they should set their sights on Baron.
And while it's nice that they're able to actually pick up that Infernal Drake, the follow-up fight gets decisively won by DRX, and picking up a Baron now might give them the opportunity to actually break open the base, take away the remaining map control that KD had available, and kind of go from there. I do want to see replay, because I really wonder how Doran stole that, whether there was some funny business involved with Gideon, maybe also throwing in a smite, or whether it was just a miss from Pioshik. But why do we have to? We have to replay this.
Yes, everybody watch.
As this is what a lack of engage does to you. It makes you do silly things that you should not do, like just randomly dive into multiple people. And here it is indeed just Doran. Yeah, mistimed smite there.
Yeah, a bit early.
Fortunately, June hits a monstrous hook, which means that immediately Dove is gone. And then as DRX, you don't have the issue of, okay, do we want to walk into the poke? No, you're already on top of them. You can just go in, you can blow them up. And now it's Baron for Soul Point. Still the need here for DRX to get a lot done, because if you ever lose Infernal Soul against this team, your life becomes very unpleasant. But if you take away some inhibitors here, it might set you up for a really easy Drake. And then we're going to go 6 Drakes, and then neither team is engaged. So we're probably going to be here for the long haul, Valdez. Just warning you up front.
So you're saying could be 10 more minutes?
Yeah, at least
for the 2 Drakes, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we'll see. I mean, DRX, they still have hooks, they still have Scout of the Weeks, and I would imagine with the reckless abandon that a lot of the players are playing with in this game, maybe they just get a pick and just go in and try to push an end, but that's not going to be the story just yet, as we're just going back, we're buying some more items with that Baron power play, and we are setting up for, I guess, the follow-up Baron push. There's no other objective at the moment.
When I see a Gwen without Nashor's Tooth, I get sad. I really like that item on Gwen, and I think it is also one of the big reasons why King hasn't really been able to do a lot. The one upside of this is that I think he was looking towards a Mask, can go towards Rylai's either, which would make a little bit of sense with the amount of kite back, but I feel like Mask is a lot more consistent and provides you more resistances as well, so you don't get blown up immediately. As a whole, it's still kind of rough here for DRX. Because, yeah, they got the Baron. That's nice. They were able to pick up another mark for Pioshik, who has at 7 marks now. So that's another range increase that he was able to find. Gonna pick up the outer, or the inners rather, but no inhibitors turrets. Yeah, which means that it's... I don't know what's gonna happen in the next Drake. Unfortunately, unless they can get a big pick.
It really does feel like anything could happen.
Oh, I don't know what this game can go with. No one. I don't think either team knows either.
Yeah, we've kind of entered that territory here. And
yep.
the reason why we say that is because of what just happened to Pioshik, right? If we're sitting around the dragon and the enemy jungler has 20% health, and you know maybe he can just go all in on the Drake and press his ultimate and try to survive and get the smite this time, maybe they'll be okay. But none of these things that I just mentioned are set in stone. It's very much, it could all change at a moment's notice, and I would imagine that this time Dove is going to be a bit more careful. He's not going to get hooked as LeBlanc against Thresh, and there will be a better chance for KT to try to fight over this Drake. And if they get Infernal, really anything could happen. I mean, there's a lot of items completed here on the side of KT as well. Already the Ziggs is on 4, and the Jace is on 4.5, right? We're getting some stopwatches in there. Got a Zhonya's for Dove. And we'll have to wait and see the amount of poke that they can put in, although DRX is still in control of this area.
I like the itemization coming through from Taeyun as well, who has King and goes in.
Now they get the slow down, and there is the Mimic Distortion, but the slow here from Pioshik as well as he chases him down, but the Zhonya's is... Wow, he actually hit his own, and now he's not going to be able to follow up. Does avoid the Shock Blast damage, I suppose, but not able to actually get the kill onto Dove.
I don't know whether that was one of the smartest moves I've seen or one of the most,
you know,
not so good ones, because they did it worked out really well, right? It dissuaded the engaged. Oh, Taeyun!
Oh no! This is the one guy you can't afford to lose right now, and he's burning down. He's got about 0 health at this point in time. And that might just be the Infernal. This is what we were talking about. As the damage does come in, Pioshik is just getting to work here, and it's going to be a flip, and it goes the way of KT as the Lancer Spike goes down. And KT now with the Infernal. They have blown the game open, and Doran and the rest of them, they're still on the chase. The ultimate comes out, and they're going to just keep them at bay, but take a look at the mid lane. You just got to stop the backs and let the Ziggs do the work. That's all they need. As Harp is looking to maybe stop the Gwen, but it's not actually going to work as Teleport is committed to here. As he might actually, yeah, June's going to die. Pioshik looking to follow the same fate as the jungler will go down. You want to break that down, Chronicler?
Thank you for the setup, Veldis. I really appreciate it. Yeah, we see some of the trademark weaknesses come through from DRX. Taeyun being left alone there and forced to eat an incredible amount of poke. Mistake number 1. And then DRX just being in that position at all, I think is not the right call. I get the idea behind getting damage on Dove, but I think the moment that a flash gets forced, you back off. Because going that deep, forced so much, it's a chain reaction, right? That's the reason why Pioshik and Kingen were so deep up. That's the reason why Taeyun and June felt the need to get to that pit as soon as they could, which in turn meant that Taeyun was left alone there. And these kind of mis-executions from DRX are going to cost them a whole lot. That's an Infernal Soul. If they can get it, they can't approach the pit. It's just not happening. Pioshik isn't even anywhere near, and that's all of a sudden an Infernal Soul, as well as a Baron giving over to a comp with this much poke, with this much siege, and starting to feel a lot more likely for KT that they're going to be able to just stand from a distance, fire some skill shots, and be completely fine.
And we're going to take another look at how this happens, right? So the Lantern's down, and Jet takes it!
Yeah.
I don't have anything. I don't know. Yeah.
No.
That's it. Yeah.
Jet not allowed to take that, and again, Pioshik going that deep after you already force the attempted play on Dove is also a reason why you can't even walk up there. He's half health, he's a Kindred, he didn't go for a defense ability, didn't have any lifesteal, he has Divine Sunderer, and it's not enough. Maybe you can get Pioshik out of result, you feel a little bit better, but June gives his life, which I think was the right call, but then simultaneously, if they're also able to take out the jungler, it's a free Baron, and there is a fat chance, with how the game's looking right now, that DRX might just outright lose with a gold lead, which is pretty rare and not generally what you want to see or what is ideal, but also kind of symptomatic for what has been a rough split for DRX, right? There's the reason why this team is at the bottom is because the mistakes that we see coming through here just keep happening and happening and happening, Valdez.
Yeah. We thought maybe we were past that after a very nice 10 minutes at the beginning of the game, but since then it's been a wonderful, weird and wacky kind of game that we've had here. As you can see, the amount of siege that they do have, they're just waiting for the waves to push in. You just go 4-1 and you poke. And you say you're not allowed to approach and try to defend your turrets because we'll just straight up kill you. Although, not exactly being aggressive with it. They're trying to land a little bit more, especially onto Taeyun, but he has been having some nice fancy feats so far.
No, Valdez, you need another Drake. Or a Baron. One Baron buff is not enough, okay?
True.
And we say jokingly, but it's dependent on whether or not Doran hits Empowered Shock Blast, or 5-Kit hits Bombs, or a big ultimate. If neither of those happen, KT also can't force that well. And Taeyun is incredibly fat. You need to respect him.
Okay, there's the amount of poke that can come out from the Aphelios. Doran is at half health as June nearly dies. But at the same time, he's throwing the Gwen to cover the mid lane. And they were trying to time the pushing of the waves. It was kind of cute. But at the end of the day, they're still not having very much luck with this push, as they have not been able to get significant damage onto Taeyun.
And the issue that DRX ran into is the same for KT. Now, KT has a lot more range in their composition, so they can feel a little bit more comfortable. But simultaneously, the only way that they can really pull a trigger is Gideon, you run at them real quick, and then Harp, you Abyssal Voyage, and then we'll see what happens. And that's not a great game plan. When you're this deep into the game, a single misstep can cost you. As Collector, wow, Doran really wants to blow up people.
Yeah. It's like too many people are surviving with like 10%.
I am not enjoying this.
Yeah.
This is not okay. We need to rectify this immediately.
Yeah, and you know what? Very close to doing exactly that. The minions and the burn come down. It's enough. Leandri's best item. And that's going to potentially do it here, as Jace is going to be denied. Or rather, the Kindred, as Jace and the rest of his team will put in the damage. And now it's 5-on-3. King, and he was just pushing the top lane peacefully as two of his teammates died. And now KT, that's all the room they needed. I think they'll go for the game-winning push now. Although here comes Taeyun. He's got 200 years behind him. We'll see what he can do. But the amount of poke damage that is coming out here is pretty insane. And this time it hits the right target.
There's just too much range. They can push here. Death timers are still really, really long.
Hey, Taeyun has really got some nice fancy feet. And look at that. They're just saying, no, Elder's up. We're just not going to pull the trigger. It's 10 seconds until Syndra. We got to go for this Elder.
Okay, now all we need is a random Scatter the Weak steal of this Elder Drake, and then I think we, then I think we're really there. Oh no, never mind. That is gone. That is a very, yeah.
Yeah, Harp doesn't care as well. Steam got Elder.
Oh.
So we'll take another look at the damage,
yes.
and then
Yeah.
Leandri's.
And look at these caster minion ultos.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Meanwhile, Pioshik's is caught in the jungle.
Oh, doesn't even get to actually utilize the healing that Lance Respite provides you. And now you're playing into this poke comp.
He's
Yeah,
dead.
he's dead.
All right, here we go. We get some Kench burn in there. Hey, how about another kill? I feel like we're playing that game at the circus where you throw, or not circus, like the carnival where you throw darts at the balloon board and people just blow up. As Bielzik, he's got some armor for this balloon, but not for too long. Down he will go, and that's probably going to be game number 1. Finally coming in here, 42 minutes, KT are able to find the picks they needed. Taeyun is still alive, and he does have GA. It is, yeah, he's actually maybe going to kill Harp here. He's got some really nice weapons to do it, but the engage is coming in, and the burn is huge. As you can see, Trundle is able to chase him down, and now there is just no hope for this poor Aphelios. Down he goes, 1,000 gold, and that's going to be another balloon popped. This KT will, I would imagine now, Chronicler, end the game.
I think they've done it, Valdez. I like your hesitation, given how this game has gone, but in the end, it will indeed be enough. Oh! Nope. Nope, not quite. It is a game that had a lot of twists. Not necessarily well-written ones, but twists.